Hey folks, welcome back to I Am Developer Live. My name is Nick Taylor, your host, and today I'm hanging out with Omar Mashaal. Omar, how you doing today?
Good. How you going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time to come out. I can't remember what time zone you're in, so I'm not sure if it's super late for you or not. Or,
Very early. Yeah, it's Australian time zone, so yeah, it's 5 in the morning here.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm in the east coast of Canada, so I'm in Montreal. So yeah, definitely a few hours difference. I see.
It's pretty,
What's
it's
that?
pretty funny. I was doing a bit of time zone, using a bit of time zone websites, and they all say different things. I
Okay,
put some links in those notes, but yeah, one says 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it's actually 5 a.m. It's
okay.
I
Yeah,
think there's a
here
lot of
it's
daylight savings going on.
yeah, here right now it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon for me. So yeah,
Mm.
um, yeah, we have some folks joining in the chat on Twitch. Anthony, who's a friend of mine, he's super excited to hear about Ultra. He's a big fan of frameworks too, and I work on the frameworks team at Netlify, so I'm kind of super excited to dig into this. So before we get started, though, I don't know if you want to say a little bit about yourself, like what you're up to. I mean, you're working on the Ultra project, obviously, but is this your full time thing, or like what do you do in your regular day to day?
No, so I work for a lot of arts museums and festivals down here in Australia. So I run a company with a friend of mine and we do a lot of digital work for festivals and art museums, modern art museums,
Okay.
stuff around like video streaming and ticketing. And Ultra is just something that we started about 2 years ago when we started the company to kind of do our envisioning of how we want to make websites. We make a
Okay.
really specific type of website that I've really, fell in love with in the early days, which we could probably get into sort of the history of how we got here. But building
Yeah.
dynamic apps with really modern JavaScript and trying to reduce a lot of the boilerplate bundling magic that kind of happens in a lot of frameworks today.
Yeah.
It's like, as I'm sure as you know, it's like it's almost at an absurd level at the moment, the complexity that these frameworks have. And Ultra is just sort of our envisioning of how we could try and bring the future forward while removing a lot of the stuff that may or may not be necessary, but that's all personal takes and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's I feel lucky that we're able to kind of support this just from our ongoing work. And we have client work that we mix with open source, and we're trying to sort of figure out a way to um, kind of scale that without like either losing a heap of money or trying to get funding and all this stuff. It's been really good.
Okay.
Like we've actually had some contributors to Ultra who actually started working on us on our client work as well. So like it's a really cool little community that's going on.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No, yeah, I'd be kind of, yeah, because I didn't really know what the history of the framework was. So it's interesting that this came out of a need that you had for some client work you're doing. So I guess, like you're saying, you specialize in a certain kind of site and stuff. Do you want to kind of maybe dig into that a bit more? Because, like you said, it's related to art, so I'm guessing it's some kind of interactive pieces or
Yeah, I mean, we do everything from full-on interactive motion video work, live streaming, kind of controlling live stream views and stuff. And we could share some of that stuff if we want to. But it's really at the end of the day, it's having a lot of flexibility and power to actually do a lot in the browser. Like there are certain
okay,
types of experiences where you want to rely on the browser on having like seamless videos that stay mounted in between transition, page navigation and all of that. And I think not everyone needs to make sites like that. And I think a lot of frameworks today, they kind of are pushing against that. There's like sort of this MPA, SPA kind of divide. But like if you're going to be building something dynamic with a lot of media and you want things, audio and video players to stay routed between your entire lifespan, like you're probably going to need to fall back to that single page app route. And
yeah,
I'm totally happy with that sort of trade off. But, you know, Ultra really just tries to show you that you can have those really dynamic, seamless like long-lived interactive sessions without having to kind of go down these really weird rabbit holes of like client bundling and
Okay.
yada yada yada.
Yeah, no, no, I got you. So like, so so I guess like we'll dig more into Ultra, but so like, is there any kind of bundle? I dropped the links to the Ultra website as well as the GitHub if folks want to check that out. So, yeah, I guess we can just start talking about Ultra. We'll have some fun building out a project in a bit. But so like the tagline that you sent me when you accepted the stream request was it's Deno, ESM, and Web standards. So I know, like at Netlify, we use Deno for our Edge offering, and I got a chance to speak with the creator of Fresh, which is another Deno-based framework. So I'm curious. I guess I'm curious on what's under the hood in Ultra, like in terms of tech stack. Like I know there's React in there, but I guess maybe speak to a bit about what the tech stack is.
Yeah, so we can look at it when we start the code later, but at the
Yeah.
core, the core imports of Ultra are Ultra and React, and Ultra is really just a streaming server-side rendering kind of event handler, route handler. So it doesn't
Okay.
come with routing or data fetching or any sort of external CSS libraries out of the box. Like it's purely React server-side rendering streaming.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that it's powered by import maps that both work in Deno and as well as the browser. And I think that's sort of where I'm interested in this web standards aspect is I remember when ES6 was first announced and we were talking about this new import syntax and everyone was really excited about it. And,
Yeah.
we were saying like, how great is it going to be in a few years when you could actually just start using ESM in the browser and import maps? I don't even think we knew about them at the time. And like
Yeah.
for now, we are actually in that time where you can use ESM that looks identical to what you're writing in your Next or Remix apps. There's no difference in this actual source code you're writing. Um,
Yeah.
uh, we'll get into that because we do strip out TypeScript and Java JSX, but like in terms of your importing and your ESM and how your components are structured and how your project is scaffolded out, it's exactly one-to-one. You don't need to bundle the ESM. All the imports will naturally
Okay.
resolve. It's
Okay.
really cool. Like, and that's sort of what Ultra does at its core. Like, it's ESM on the server, ESM on the client. There's no bundling. Everything gets loaded naturally.
Okay. Yeah. No, I got you. I came across import maps only this year when I started working at Netlify because, like I was mentioning, we use Deno for the Edge offering we have at work, and I came across an import map because that's how we put in dependencies and stuff. And I didn't realize it was a web standard. So like you can use that today in the browser right now. So and it's kind of like I dropped a link to it in the chat. I know you're not. I don't think you're in the chat, Omar, but I dropped it there for folks to check out. But
Sure.
it's kind of neat because it's I wouldn't say it's a one-to-one mapping, but it's essentially kind of like your dependencies in a package.json, except like you were saying, you wouldn't need to bundle them. It's really just saying like, here's an import, and it's available to you now, and you can literally just do like a regular ESM import, like import some dependency from some package. So
Yeah, like you could do like import use effect from React, and it works exactly the same way in Deno and in the browser, and like that's awesome. Like you don't see enough people talking about how incredibly cool that is. Like, and
yeah.
what's actually what's actually neat is that you can actually just change those values on the import map. So we could show this later, but we use a lot of ESM CDNs, which means that we could pull React from a URL. But when we want to go
Okay.
to production, we obviously don't want to do that. So we could actually just point that React to a local build of React, and then you have production ready import maps with the same exact code base. You haven't changed literally one single line except for that import map.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's super interesting. I didn't realize it. We'll talk a bit about Deno in a second too, but yeah, I didn't realize like when I was talking to the creator of the Fresh framework, the it almost looked like aliases in Webpack because like you can give the import a name and then like the actual URL, and he was saying it's not so much an alias, it's like a redirect instead in the import map, which I didn't realize. It makes sense now when you mention it because it's all URLs,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that's super nice too because you have it in that one spot and then it's like you don't have to like copy paste the latest version everywhere. You can just update it in the import map. So it's kind of nice in that respect for like keeping it managed, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does that. I think the kind of struggle at the moment is there's a lot of tooling around package JSON that like auto updates and like auto looks for latest versions and stuff, and that stuff doesn't really exist at the
Yeah.
moment. But I don't think it's really just a matter of time. But like
Mm-hmm.
the ideal is that you're able to use these things no matter where you are, and I think that's like what's really exciting
Yeah. No, no,
about
for sure. And I think to your point about the tooling, I think the tooling will definitely catch up, like because, you know, I mean, Deno's starting to become popular, you know, and I mean it's not just Deno that needs to use the import maps. I mean that's the only place I've seen it being used,
it. Mhm.
but I don't know. I feel like there's been like a big shift, like you were saying, to not bundling stuff, like you know, like in the if you go the old school way, which is like using Webpack typically. I mean before that there was like Browserify and some other ones, but like you know even now we're still bundling with Vite. Vite's a really great tool though, and it's super fast. You know, or like ES build kind of stuff, and it's great. But yeah, I'm kind of seeing this. It's slowly coming about, but this unbundling of the web. So and you know, it's kind of nice because we're keeping the developer experience still that we've known to love, but like things are kind of getting unraveled to become a little more simple again. And I say simple in the sense that
Yeah.
it's not simple as in trivial, but like it's kind of nice to go back to roots where like you know you could literally just create a web page and just say I just need this and let me write a page or something. So
Well, yeah, I get really excited about that as well. I mean, like, I think about the times when you could just write a bit of HTML and a bit of JavaScript. You don't need anything. You just put it on a server and it works, right? But
yeah,
ideally, you can actually get the sort of experience that something like Next.js will give you, where you have these like client-side routed applications with full like data fetching capabilities, like refetching data, all the stuff that you come to expect from Next with server-side rendering. You could do it
yeah,
all with just ESM now, and you don't need to lose the kind of just insane modern kind of experiences that we expect. You know, like
yeah,
sure, a thing I hear a lot of times is like, oh, yeah, you could always make a website with HTML and JavaScript, but like, yes, there's that's always been true, but like the web is better than it ever has been now,
yeah.
especially browsers and ESM and import maps. Like the amount of stuff you could take advantage of to actually make really neat experiences is it's a brand new sort of era.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like I think when people say you can just make a website with like HTML, CSS, and JS, excuse me, you definitely can. But I think they also mean it in the spirit of like kind of like what you were saying. Like we have like great experiences building applications now, but we can kind of go back to it's kind of like a melding of simpler times in terms of authoring, but getting all the benefits of like all the stuff we've gained over the like the past 10, 20 years, you know. So it's like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like
it's
JavaScript in
yeah.
the browser is actually better than like default Node JavaScript. Like that's my controversial opinion, you know, like you could use ESM like seamlessly and it's a nightmare in Node still. I mean, even to this day. And I mean, that's one of
Yeah,
the things that really, uh, you know, Dino speaking right towards me when they were talking about ESM only runtime and import maps. Like they're the only runtime out there that can actually achieve this at the current moment.
yeah,
It's really kind of it's you know I'm really surprised that there's not as many people kind of talking about it as there are about like other things.
Yeah, no, no, I agree with you. I think from the Node aspect, like there was a lot of people that like common JS. I know like I part of the thing for me is I actually like it's it's a superficial reason, but I actually like the syntax of the ESM import versus like something equals require, and it's not necessarily a valid reason to say we should that's why you should use it, but I'm also just thinking like there's like an aesthetic to writing things too, like, and I don't know. I also used to do a lot of .NET and stuff, and the imports look more like that maybe. Or not exactly, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, totally valid. But I mean, the end all is that it's how browsers work. And I don't know, like I make websites, so like I want to make code that works in browser as a default. Like I don't want to write code in
Yeah.
Node that gets bundled to, like a lot of frameworks view the browser as a target to build to, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally sort of where my shift is. Like I don't want to make a target to build to. I want to actually
Yeah.
build for the target.
Yeah. No, that's I like that. That's no, it's so true. And I guess the interesting thing is like I don't know if you want to speak a bit about Deno. I'm gonna drop a link to it's just a blog post with a short video. I spoke to somebody on the Deno team, so they kind of break it down in about 10 minutes. But the I find Deno interesting as well too because there's stuff I didn't understand about it initially because like I only really started looking into it this year. I kind of looked at it briefly like when it came out a couple years ago, but I didn't really do anything with it. And I, it's like taking types adding TypeScript in there as like kind of the default is interesting to me too. I don't know if that speaks to you because like you seem to be more like you just want it what's in the web, but it's kind of neat what they do still because they still give you that like right for the web. Don't worry about it. We'll convert it to JS, and it's still browser JS. It's not like common JS squeezed in from Node into something else and then here you go, So
Mhm.
it's I don't know. There's just I think they made some really great choices there, and like
Sorry,
the
I live by a kind of dockyard, so there's a
oh
ship.
okay.
that
No, that's all good. I thought
wasn't
it
a horn. That was me blowing the
as
TypeScript horn.
yeah, yeah. So like yeah. It's TypeScript time. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just there's a lot of neat things they did with Deno, like Deno for folks on the stream who might not be aware. Deno was created by Ryan Dahl, who's the person that created Node.js. So there's a talk he gave, I think, a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, about 10 regrets about Node.js. And so like I think anybody that has criticism towards Node.js, the person that's probably really allowed to do it out of anybody is definitely the creator probably. But yeah, no, it's there's just a lot of things they did like so Deno has like a whole test framework built in, you don't need to grab some other package. It formats out of the box. There's just a lot of neat things about it, I think. And
Yeah, I mean, I could jump in on that as well. Uh, there were times when I was still doing node development where it would take me 45 to an hour and a half to just set it up to get prettier working, ESLint working, TypeScript working. Like it's actually kind of like this Jenga tower that you ended up wanting to build. And I was using ESM, experimental modules for years when they first even
yeah.
announced it. So I was throwing that on top. So I was building in Node with ESM with all of that stuff. And yeah, it's like it's not. We've come to just overlook how incredibly complex it became with all these libraries. And yeah,
Yeah.
with Deno, you literally can just run Deno lint, Deno format, Deno test, and it just does what you expect it to do. And you don't need to install anything. And it's like
Yeah.
a huge, huge win. Like that entire tool stack for most applications is just right there.
Yeah, no, it's and it's still for myself at least it's still early days with Deno like I said because we use it at Netlify, so I've been kind of in it a bit, but I'm excited to do some stuff with it, and I guess this is kind of a good place to maybe kind of dig into Ultra a bit more if you wanna. Like, we could I can switch us to pairing view if you want here, and
Sure.
oh, got you on there. Sorry. Cool. So yeah, first off, I dropped it already in the chat, but you can check out the Ultra website. And I guess first question I have is because like the domain name is ultrajs.dev. Do you call the framework Ultra or UltraJS or
I usually just call it Ultra. I think
yeah?
ultra.dev and Ultra, any cool domain name was probably taken. So the JS was sort of the de facto.
Okay, cool,
Uh,
cool. So, okay, gotcha. Okay, so obviously we talked about unbundling the web before, so like with the import maps and not having to bundle anything. So, uh, I guess maybe before we start diving into some code or something, I guess kind of speak to the tagline here. So when you mean zero legacy, I'm assuming you mean like it's because you're not bundling and bringing in stuff from Node, which is not native ESM. Is that what you
yeah,
mean by that?
no,
Okay.
no CJS, no bundling, no like weird abstractions around how like client and server code gets built. Um, like ideally, the only thing we're doing is removing TypeScript and JSX from the code that you write.
Okay.
Everything else should stay exactly the same. So it kind of, we can talk about data fetching in a bit, but yeah, a lot of frameworks will kind of like make it so you could mix your front end code with your back end like database querying, whatever language you're using. And yeah, personally, I'm not like the biggest fan about that. I think I could see why people really like it, but yeah, they end up kind of transpiling or compiling away that sort of code and putting it in some
Okay.
corner somewhere, and like we try to avoid doing any sort of stuff that just isn't how it would work in the browser, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Gotcha.
And I guess that's what we call zero legacy. And then yeah, and then the other big change is that everything's using the new React 18 web stream. So I think we have a
Okay.
fallback to render to string if something goes wrong, but the stream, the render to readable stream is the default with everything that we're
Okay.
building. And
Yeah. No.
it's
That's
actually
cool.
really neat because some of the stuff that's coming up in the later versions of React kind of let you inject head tags anywhere in the stream, and they actually resolve back up to the head. And head
Oh, no
management
way.
in React, yeah, head management in React has been an absolute nightmare. I don't know if like anyone's ever dug into it, but man, like head tags in React just don't really. They're not the right fit for each other, So there's a lot of weird stuff
Okay.
that happens. So I'm really excited
Okay.
about the stream where, because the stream's coming through as a stream, you could kind of pull out the head tags or meta tags and everything, and kind
Okay.
of
Gotcha.
more naturally build out your app, your code.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because my only experience really with the head tag in React is using something like React Helmet or like, and I'm not sure if Next.js uses React Helmet under the hood or not, but because they
I
have a
think they
head
use their
component.
own implementation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But uh, but yeah, no, that's interesting. I remember hearing that about like you can stream out of order, right? That's what you're talking about, and then it just kind of okay, yeah.
Well, it's two new APIs they're kind of introducing is like use async and also they call it resources, but resources are
Okay.
pretty much what stand for head tags and then um, resolve them.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the use. You're talking about the use hook. Is that what that is? Like
Yeah, that's
the
the
one
use
that
and
gives
async.
you. Yeah, so that's like the async await, but for React. I think I
Mm.
haven't used it myself, but okay.
So it's not really
Cool, cool.
like it's technically released, but no one's really documented it or like used it, like besides like Next.js. But
Okay.
yeah, I guess in all of these experiments that we're about to show like all of this stuff was done. I used to just pull the experimental React builds daily before even React 18 was released and before there even was a readable stream. Because the other big difference between like Node and Deno is there's Node streams are their own thing. They're not like web compatible
Yeah.
streams. I think they're doing work to kind of resolve that now, and it might be done. But like Dino's using web compatible streams, and for a while,
Mm-hmm.
like the React stream was defaulting to Node, and then they ended up putting
Oh,
in
okay.
a stream. So like, yeah, there's like two actual stream renders in React. But
Okay.
yeah, so we're using like the web compatible readable stream, and yeah, so like you just kind of poke around at the React experimental and see what they've added, and that's how I built version 1, and that's sort of
Okay.
how we're doing the version 2 stuff.
Yeah, and we'll talk about well, I think we can probably dive into a bit of code, like just start up a project here. But we can talk about you had a version 2.0 release recently. You were saying, or
Yeah,
did it cut? It came out already? Is that right?
yeah, it came out early this week. We've been doing like the alpha was out for a little while, but I guess a quick history is like version 1 was sort of what I made to use for a lot of our like immediate client work that we had. So the big difference is that
Okay.
it came like sort of pre-chosen how you would do your routing and pre-chosen how you would do your data fetching. Like it was all just baked in. It was using like SWR, which is a Vercel library for data fetching, and it was using a router called a wouter. That's a funny one, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those kind of came in preloaded, right? And we got a lot of because that's sort of what I was using for my main stack, and we got a
Okay.
lot of comments. Everyone wants to use like React Router and blah blah blah. So like we for version 2, we kind of removed all of that pre-baked sort of opinionated stuff, and so now it's really
Okay.
just React and the stream renderer, and you can use React Router, Wouter, SWR, React Query, and we
Okay.
could probably yeah, if you don't mind, if you click the little star, you should get to the GitHub
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
repository. And if you look at the examples directory, we don't
Yeah.
need to dive in, but I just want to show like if you want to have a look at how you could use all these different libraries with Ultra, we have like little demo apps here, like from
Okay.
everything from no requirements to everything you see listed here. Um,
Okay.
so there's
Yeah, I
quite a
got you.
bit. So yeah, we really tried to make it so that both your server rendering and client rendering were totally in your hands. So you can literally put whatever you want onto the server rendering
Okay.
quite like somewhat easily. Like whereas a lot of other frameworks that kind of push you down a path, with Ultra, we
Mm-hmm.
always wanted it to be very use what you want to use or don't use anything. Like I'm really excited about using Ultra with none of those dependencies because
Okay.
React is going to be able to give you all of that now, data fetching, head management, you name it.
Yeah. No. No. It's cool. It's cool. Okay. No, that's super
And
interesting.
these are this is some JavaScript fan fiction I wrote.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. It was. I like the. Is this like when a recruiter emails you and they forget to fill out in the template or?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so I guess how do we get started with the project? Is it like like I have Deno installed, so like is it a Deno install to get things up and running, I'm
Yeah.
assuming?
Well, I guess if you scroll down to the bottom of the page here, there's actually a little install script, but
Oh,
I
okay.
actually shared a link. I shared a link to the new docs site, which isn't actually published yet. But if we wanted to have a quick look at it, like it actually does a bit of a better job. We've been taking a bit more time to split everything out into their own,
Okay,
own
yeah.
section. So like uh, the two alpha docs were a bit all over, one page with everything listed.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first
Uh
link.
okay, cool. Let's go here. Whoops. Is this it? No, whoops, sorry, I was in the wrong
No,
one.
the other one.
Oh, wait, shit. Sorry, I'm in the wrong thing. No, it should be there. Where did it go?
I think
I'll
it's the
just
other
use my
tab.
email.
It's above it or whatever.
There we go. All right.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, cool. So like this sort of is what will be our official docs, which maybe we'll release this week if we have enough time. But it kind of gives you the whole philosophy, like what our priorities are. A lot of the stuff I just covered, ESM suspense support, all pretty much unopinionated. But if we want to jump
Okay.
down to, we have a little knowledge base as well, which kind of tells you what import maps are and how to use them and stuff. That's the next link on the top of the nav there. But
Okay.
oh, and the left nav, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it kind of covers exactly sort of what we covered already, but how import maps work, and that's what an import map looks like, and yeah, at its core, that's all Ultra needs is React,
Okay.
React DOM, and Ultra, and doesn't give you much else. Um,
I actually have a question about the import map because I saw this in Fresh, the other framework I was talking about. So there's two imports here. There's the React one, and then there's the React with the slash. And is the React with the slash because it grabs sub stuff in there? Is that why you have to define both?
yeah, so like if you wanted to say
Okay.
like React slash server or something, you'd need to have that import map with the slash. The slash
Okay.
just basically means that you could put something after it and it will resolve it. It is a
Okay.
bit of a I think it's to the spec. That's why it's like that. But you could literally
Yeah.
just put React slash server or something and have it
And
resolved to the
then okay.
server, and then it would be
Okay.
sort of like a band specifier. But yeah, the trailing slash is for children, like
Okay.
children some things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like when I first saw it, it kind of threw me off, but it makes sense because they're URLs, so that you would have to say slash something. So, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Okay. No, thanks for answering that. That was one thing that was kind of bugging me that I didn't dig into too much.
Yeah, triggers your
Okay.
OCD.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so we got the import map. Obviously, there's JSX that's being used. So in the import map here, you're importing React. There's like you were saying, it's a ESM site, esm.sh. There's a I don't does Snowpack still exist, or what was the one from the
Skypack.
creator of Astra? Skypack, yeah. Is that
Yeah,
still out there? I can remember.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I think the cool thing about Skypack is it sort of ships the code as it's written. But if the code base isn't
Okay.
ESM, I don't think it works. I might be wrong, but the
Okay.
good thing about like why ESM.sh exists, and if you scroll down a bit, there's actually a little
Yeah.
write up around the ESM CDN. So this talks about ESM, but yeah, this is the section we're talking about here is ESM CDNs where um, ESM.sh basically will let you pull in any node npm package, and it will actually just ESMify it, and it uses ESBuild under the
Okay.
hood. So like when you say ESM.sh/React, it's actually taking the latest, whatever version you select of React, and making it
Okay.
ESM safe.
Yeah.
What's really cool with Deno as well is ESM.sh sends TypeScript headers, so it will resolve the types
Oh, okay.
naturally. So if you're using
Nice.
TypeScript, you will for most packages you will get those TypeScript headers, and I don't think any
Okay.
other CDN does that.
Okay. No, that's super cool. And obviously, like right now, because like you were saying, we want to avoid bundling the web, but this is also kind of a bit of a temporary measure for like packages that don't have ESM yet. So like, I mean, the hope is obviously everything gets ported to ESM at some point. Like I don't, because even React doesn't have an ESM version as far as I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a funny link in our README at the bottom. There's like a whole list of like wish lists, and there's an ESM React issue that's been open since like 2017 or something.
Ah,
It's
okay, that
like,
one here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so it's quite funny. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, I think for Ultra, like if React had ESM exports, like it would be absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's sort of one of the main drags at the moment is like the main lib that we use is an ESM compatible, and it's
Yeah.
but yeah, I did I did a deep dive between a whole bunch of other sort of React-ish libraries, and I still just resolve back to React because I like the fact that the JSX transform is relatively straightforward, and you don't need to even write it if you want to. Like we have an example that
Yeah.
lets you just write create element, and it'll work with Ultra. Like you don't even need to use JSX. But I like the
Okay.
fact that it's so lightweight in that regard.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the other ones require like some sort of Babel transform or like God knows what. And
Yeah.
it's only because JSX that transform is so everywhere, and it comes baked into Deno as well. Like you could write
Yeah.
JSX in Deno and it works. You don't need to do some fancy thing.
Yeah. No, it's
So
nice. yeah, because they're using TypeScript, you get that because of TypeScript, so it's really nice. And I know because I did a lot of work with Preact before at my previous job, and so like you can change the JSX pragma to use like the Preact one, like it defaults to
Mm.
the React one in TypeScript. But so that's neat too, and like you said, you get that, a transpilation or compilation from JSX to actual JS, thanks to like because Deno does it on the fly, which is another thing I didn't understand about Deno initially was like I knew it was written in TypeScript, and so like I understood like if I was writing maybe like a console app or something, like okay, I guess they're just using TypeScript, and I didn't realize how it worked. Like if you were actually doing something that's web based, and they literally just transpile it on the fly. It's like apparently so fast that it's really kind of negligible. And
Mm.
it's and you can always obviously cache these things too if you want to, like once you serve a page or whatever. But so yeah, it was just like it was one of those pieces of the puzzle I didn't understand about Deno initially. So it's kind of neat in that respect. So
Yeah, it's a confusing thing, but I mean, you're still writing code that is legitimate other than sort of the TypeScript and JSX stuff. It's not doing
yeah.
anything like structurally to your code.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, cool. Okay, so we're taking a peek at the new docs here. So, should we try just like bootstrapping just like a
yeah,
new site and
it's
see?
just yeah. So you jump to create project is probably the easiest there on the side there,
Okay.
and that will So a contributor actually made this amazing script, which you could run just that, and it'll actually walk you through if you want to add like all these different sort of routing CSS
Oh,
dependencies. So
okay.
yeah, those are some of the ones that are available there. So, but I just wanted to caveat that I really do recommend just starting with the basic version of Ultra to get a grasp of how it works before you start adding like
Okay.
React query and stuff straight off the bat. So yeah, that first one there, if you just run that command, it actually will just um, direct line you into getting a basic project running, and that means there's no. You could always add your third-party libraries later, or like start a new project. But because there's so
Okay.
many like pretty new concepts that a lot of people might need to get their head around. Like I think it's good to just not get too complicated too soon.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
gotcha. Cool. Let me just go to my stream folder, and this will create the folder for me, right? Like I don't need to create a folder first.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Cool. So I'm gonna run this, and I'll just let this run here. So we'll just say ultra stream with Omar, if I knew how to type. All right, cool. Sure. Should I take? I'm pretty comfortable in TypeScript. Should I take it for now, or what do you want me
Yeah,
to
if you want to, it's up to you. Like we always just make sure that we give the choice.
do? Yeah, no, no, it's a fair. It's a good thing to do. Give options. Okay,
Well,
so we've got the project.
just an aside to that, I saw a talk. Who was it with? I think it was Chance from Remix. He was talking about how some of the Remix creators aren't huge fans of TypeScript. Like, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just find it funny. And I also read that Ryan from Solid isn't a huge fan of TypeScript either. And it's kind of like
yeah.
it if you make because making frameworks is really like it's crazy how much there's involved with it, and like the types get absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I work with Ryan. He works at Nullify. I don't work with him directly. I mean, like I've spoken to him a bit, but yeah, I saw him. I forget he was talking on a podcast recently how he doesn't like TypeScript, but he appreciates that people want it. And I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of more like, but he used to work in .NET too, and I used to work in .NET too. So like because I started using TypeScript in the like fall of 2015 because it's been around since like 2012. So it's like I was using it in the
Mm,
early days, but I I didn't find the transition that difficult because like I don't know if you've ever done C sharp, but it's the creator of C sharp's the same creator of TypeScript, and a lot of
all
stuff
right,
from C
right.
sharp is like definitely is what inspires TypeScript. Like generics, for example, it looks literally exactly like, well, almost exactly like .NET. There's different stuff because it's JavaScript, but it looks, I'd say almost 99% the same. So
Mm,
like the cognitive load for me to learn it wasn't that bad because it just, not that I felt like I was writing C sharp, but it's like the types and everything. It wasn't something I had to struggle with, but I can
yeah.
definitely see somebody who's new to web development, or even if they've been doing web development for a long time, if they've never worked with a type language, I can see it being a barrier or just kind of like this hurts my brain. So
Mm.
I definitely feel for that. So cool.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Like I'm not like totally anti it, but like I'm not as big of a fan of like the kind of dead set nature that everyone seems to have on it. Like, yeah, I'm not that person. Like,
Yeah.
it's really make or break for a lot of people, and I think that's the kind of part that I wish was a little bit less extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing is, like, because a lot of people don't realize, like if you're using something like Visual Studio Code, it's built with TypeScript. So like all this
Mm,
tooling you get, it's because of TypeScript. So even if you're using JavaScript, you're actually still getting a lot of benefits from these things. And if you bring in types, you'll still get your IntelliSense and stuff. But
yeah,
I found in my own experience, at least, like working on some larger code bases, I definitely felt like it was way more manageable using TypeScript. But again, people have opinions, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Fair enough.
uh, cool, cool. All right,
So
so
did you see that you CD'd into the project directory?
yeah,
Uh, so like just to get started, like you could just run Deno task dev, and that will
yeah,
actually just run the project just to show you how like one shot go it is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'll
sorry.
I'll start that up for. No, I was gonna say I'll start this up for sure. It's just more to show. So this is kind of like
Yeah,
package.json a bit.
I think we'll go over all the files that we get. I just like, but yeah, if you click localhost, you should actually just get the project here. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so that's sort of our little happy guy that we start as most our basic projects with, and that's actually a CSS animation with no JavaScript required. But anyway,
Oh, okay, cool.
it's kind of
No,
funny.
that's
But
nice.
anyway, like so, to start a project, that's the only task to run is Deno task dev, and we could jump through all the files that come in a basic project. Yeah, so
Okay,
this
yeah.
is Deno.json, which where all your tasks are defined, and these are the ones that we give you to start with. Dev basically runs server TSX, and start runs it in production mode, and there's a build script which we'll get through. And yeah, here's where
Okay.
we use compiler options for JSX. What these
Okay.
give you in Deno is you don't need to do import React from React everywhere. So a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
frameworks do that now. Like I remember when Next actually put that, you used to have to put import React, and um, they do a similar thing where now you don't have to import React anywhere; it just auto detects it.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
import
definitely
map.
nice. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
real little luxury. And
Yeah.
Deno JSON accepts an import map as well, which will run on both. It runs on the server in Deno off the bat, and we do some
Okay.
stuff to pipe it into the front end as well.
Okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
this is
And
the
so
import map, and it's pretty similar to what you saw in the docs there. But yeah, we only use React and Ultra at the moment.
okay.
That
And
gap there is because we have we inject things into that import map based on your selections of that create script. So that's why there's a little space there,
oh,
but
okay.
it's totally
Gotcha.
valid. Um,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay.
cool.
Okay, so we
Um,
got that. Yeah, I guess maybe kind of walk us through the folder
yeah.
structure and the files in it.
So if we don't expand public, we'll start from the top. It's probably easier. This is literally just static assets. So we give you the favicon, a robot's text, and just whatever style that's used on that basic page, which you can delete or override if you want to. It's
Okay.
really simple, but yeah, we just wanted something nice to look at. But anything you put in this directory will just be used as like the root. It will resolve as the root of the domain.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and SRC is where you write your source code. You could call this whatever you want, but this is sort of how we set it up for you. And this is the core of what you will be writing and where you'll be putting your components in. And what's really cool here is that we give you access to the full HTML document just straight off the bat. Like there's no, like you don't need to make weird
Oh, okay.
files to get like HTML and the head and all that stuff. Like I've always found it really painful to kind of try to customize that stuff in other frameworks. And what's really neat here is you get it right from the go. So if you wanted to pipe in your router into this file and make some sort of language translated pages, or even just send completely different HTML documents for different routes or different whatever, you have absolute control to just
Okay.
do that straight off the bat, which is really,
Yeah.
really like I can't underestimate how, or I can't overestimate how cool that is. Like it's painful to
Yeah.
do when you want to do something, and we don't want to push you to doing it a certain way. Like we understand that there's going to be different things that you need to like make HTML document edits for, so
Hmm.
that all the little bare wires are like exposed here, like just do it.
Yeah.
um,
No, for sure. Yeah, like even like the lang on the HTML, like I know in
mm,
Next.js you add it to the Next.js config and then they generate routes and stuff, and that wasn't obvious to me initially when I
yeah.
tried to localize something in Next.js.
Once you get a bit
But
deep in
yeah.
it, you're once you get deep in it, you're pretty much like a Vercel sysadmin.
But yeah, so no,
Just
so
write
this
the
is cool.
code.
So like, and this also ties into what you were saying about the head component. So like, you could literally, like I could literally cut this out, make a separate head component, and then that could get imported, and then or I could dynamically load in different ones, like you said, and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it
Yeah.
totally is up to you. Um, we have a little use asset hook, which, just a quick note, it doesn't do anything in dev, but when we build for production, it actually puts like versioned assets against it.
Oh, okay.
So it just means that like it'll version that style tag and whatever you want. And we have a config that detects, like it'll let you customize what you want to be a versioned asset and what you don't. But for as a default,
Okay.
we do most of the basics,
Okay. Okay.
images,
Gotcha.
CSS, whatever. Um,
Okay.
Cool, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah. Then from then on, it's just the body tag. There's nothing else in this file that's really that interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Just
pretty stock
regular.
standard.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Um,
All right. And then I guess we'll move along to the build here.
yeah, so the build is actually what will do that sort of versioned assets, as well as the main thing that I'm really excited about our builder is that I guess we probably should inspect the source code of that dev site, but it actually just uses the esm.sh URLs for React and Ultra,
Okay.
which it's great for dev because you're pulling from the CDNs themselves. Oh yeah, maybe do the line wrap here. That might be a good view.
Can
Um,
you do line wrap in here? I was gonna. Can you
oh,
do that
oh,
right in the browser?
yeah, top left, that little checkbox.
Oh, geez, yeah. How did I never see that before?
It's still not great, but if you did get some, I was discussing maybe we should actually pretty print it in dev, but you can see
Yeah.
that the script import map there on line 2 there is that's actually just, it's literally what you wrote in your file there.
Okay.
It just, this works in the browser. So it's server rendering with those import maps, and it's passing those import maps to the client and using the exact same imports. And um,
Okay.
just on a note on that build script is what we do when we build is we take those URLs and put them in their own vendor directory. So we're not relying on a CDN. We have all the
Oh,
assets
okay.
locally. So, because I mean, it's a question. Some people think, oh, it's all right to go live with a CDN. Like, I don't know, I probably not for me, but it's really cool that you could just swap out those links when you're doing a production build.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think isn't that what Skypack did? Like you would import them, and then I think it would create a cache directory, or
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. I haven't used that one myself, but I think, yeah, the a lot of other frameworks that I see in the Deno world, they'll still do like a more traditional bundle where they won't actually ship ESM
Oh,
like
okay.
we are here. They'll still say like, oh, make a bundle with React and React DOM or whatever, and just send it with your route. And that's the big change here, is that we're not doing any of that. Like we're still having we still put your import maps in the browser. And
Okay.
the other cool thing is that we have this in that build file. You can specify both your client and server entry point. Maybe
Okay.
if you pop to that, so you can see create builder, browser entry point, and server entry point. That it actually creates two import maps. So if you have like server dependencies, like doing like some encryption stuff or whatever, and if they're only used on the server, they won't get injected
Hmm.
into the client import map because we smartly detect everything that needs to go into that
Okay.
client import map. So um, we'll build a project a bit later, but we could dig through what it actually builds if it's
Okay.
interesting to anyone. But it actually will create two import maps. So you have it's something you don't really need to know because it might just confuse you. But like, just know that server imports won't get put into the client import map, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
like, no one's gonna be able to inspect to see that you're using some like GraphQL library or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, no, that
Um,
makes total sense to me because like say you server side render something that's it's literally only used on the server, why would you even bring it in on the client? So
mm. Yeah, and the cool thing about the import maps is it doesn't say that to download that asset. So like if you have date functions in your import map, right? It might spit out on your client side import map that date functions is there, but it doesn't actually get downloaded until you import it inside of your source code, if that makes sense.
okay.
So like everything is
Yep.
dynamic, which is really cool. And that's sort of a lot of people talk about code splitting. Like there is a way to code split your source code, and it's just by importing it when you need to. And that's
Yeah.
that's like the perfection of code splitting is like when you if you have a route that you only want to load on a certain if you have files that only get imported on a certain route, you could put suspense around them and they'll only get imported when you use them. It doesn't matter where they're
Okay.
defined. You have an app page that imports 500 things. If they're all dynamically imported, it's only going to import the ones it needs.
Yeah. And I
Very
guess
cool.
getting to your point about like it only brings in what it needs, so it's kind of like I don't want to say vanilla code splitting, but like just the
It
way
is, yeah,
code
it
should
totally
split.
is.
Yeah. So like say for example like here, so we have the React DOM client which we need on the client side. Um, it okay, maybe that's not a good example, or say like React, like it's not lit because when you import it in your project, like in your file, I'm gonna say I need React slash something, it's only gonna generate an import map for that React slash, right? It's not gonna say grab the whole React.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it's still,
Okay.
if the import map will still say React slash, but it won't download anything. It'll only download something when you say React slash client or whatever.
Okay.
When you actually import it and use it in the code that's being run in the browser at this
Yeah.
time that you're running it. Um,
Okay, so it's like native tree shaking, really. It's like only
yeah,
pulling what it needs. So
it does all the stuff that we were promised just natively. The downside is that, oh, you're shipping an import map. Like, okay, like that's fine with me. But
yeah, yeah.
um,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. No,
cool. So yeah,
I'm sorry, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I was
No,
just
no,
going to
I was
continue on with
yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Cool, cool. Here, let me just open up the folder again here. Okay, so we looked at the build, so let's look at the client. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and basically client and server here are ways to customize your both your client hydration and your server rendering. So by default, we're not doing much here that's interesting, but if you wanted to wrap Tailwind or React Query around your app or any sort of like custom context you want, you can kind of control how
okay.
that's done here. But essentially, this is what gets injected. This is what hydrates your app on the client side. So this
Okay.
gets, if you look at the source code of that HTML, again at the bottom, you'll see this code, which says hydrate the client and import from client. Like it literally will look exactly the same, but it'll be minified.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
so
yeah.
this gets sent to the browser to hydrate your app, and you can do whatever you want here. Like we make a lot of custom context providers for like authentication and stuff, and it's really great
Okay.
to just be able to wrap your app that way. Um,
Yeah. There's no, that makes total sense. And yeah, this is like just this is literally like the start of your React app. Basically, this is pretty standard kind of.
Yeah, and I think those TypeScript errors there is we haven't added the document lib to the
Oh, okay. TS lib.
compiler
Oh,
options
sorry.
and stuff. I think we'll fix that. But yeah, it's really just adding document to your TS config and JSON and stuff.
Okay,
Um,
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
uh,
Okay, cool. All right, we already looked at the Deno JSON, which is like we said, it's kind of just the kind of like a package JSON script runner. Okay, we saw the import map. So, and then we'll just go to the server.tsx. So, yeah, I guess kind of walk us through here what's being imported and kind of what's happening.
yeah, so we use just the native Deno server from their standard library. We, again, we just wanted to give you access to that because Deno has like at least two different servers. They have this new Flash server that's supposed to be, it's what they built in comparison to Bun's like fast HTTP server.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can actually swap that out if you just wanted to use Deno Serve and use that one. Like you can just like it's really cool that we don't bundle in an opinionated HTTP server. You could use whatever one you want.
Okay.
And then we have these two methods called like create router and create server. Create router is not being used at the moment, but it allows you to actually say, I want to make an API router that's like prefixed with /API and then run some server
Okay.
commands. And
Yeah, yeah.
create server is actually what creates the sort of ultra renderer, which everything is like, it powers the entire sort of front end chain.
Okay.
And create
Yeah.
server accepts an import map and a browser entry point. So yeah, you could see that the browser entry point is just pointing to that client folder, that client file that we just looked at. And again, like you
Yeah.
can name it whatever you want. If you don't want to call it client, you could call it something else. Like we're really trying to be freeing that you could put it wherever you want and
Yeah.
call it whatever you want. You need to point to it. And we pass the import map in as well.
Okay.
And that does sort of the magic around putting the import maps in the client side.
Okay, gotcha.
And here, this is just some kind of boilerplate that we put that kind of let you start to customize your app. And then we have sort of a catch-all route, which will just server render your app. So at the moment,
Okay.
app's not really doing anything. So you could change server app to app and it would still work. And we're not using context for anything. But what's very cool about this as well is I found it very difficult with Next to be able to pass through like your host name through to your
Okay.
app. Like it's another one of those weird config things that you sort of have to figure out the right invocation to do. But because you have full access to your context, your requests, anything you want from that request, you can just pipe into your app. Like if you wanted to put the
Okay.
host name, it's very, very simple and direct, Um,
Okay, yeah.
and yeah, so we render that server app and then just send it back in a body with any sort of headers that you want, content type, text, HTML, but you could, again, just put whatever you want there. Like it's raw because it like we want it to be,
Yeah. And I guess it's nice too, like the Deno servers kind of mimicked what Express did, or like Express like framework.
Oh,
So
just on that note, this is using it's using the Deno HTTP server, but this create server and create router is actually built on a library called Ono, Hono.
okay.
I think it's in our
Okay.
docs, but that's what powers that sort of Express-like sort of syntax. And
Okay.
I think we do go into it in the docs a bit, but it gives you those easy route matchers, it gives you middleware and all the stuff you come to expect. And it's really a neat
Yeah.
project, and it supports like Cloudflare workers. I'm pretty sure Netlify is on it. Deno deploys on it. I think it works with Bun. So if Bun ever gets
Yeah.
import maps, there's a good chance that we could probably make this work in Bun.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
great library. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
really it.
it's
I mean, yeah.
yeah, no, well, I know you say that's it, but that's one. It's I'm always impressed when somebody makes a framework, honestly. But I like how it's not necessarily escape hatches, but by giving the raw, like you could have made things more constrained for people, but you know, it I like that it's a little raw because like even here like I could literally start writing APIs for the server even though I don't have
Mm.
any other library. So if somebody was using Express before and they came over to this, they could probably literally copy paste what they had almost. I think. Um, no, it's nice and
Yeah.
I,
Um, I, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's definitely our vibe. And like the other thing, I think I don't know if we mentioned yet, is like we're kind of opinionated against file system routing sort of stuff. So we
okay.
don't care what you call your files or where you put them. It's really code based. So you could import code from wherever you want, and you could define your routes however you want. You know,
Okay.
when we first started 1.0, we started making a file system router before I realized like all the edge cases and how many times I've had to fight with Next.js when it didn't do what I wanted to do, or like if I wanted to make some sort of route, now I have to make like 8 files, and I'm just like, this is not fun, you know. And there are times when like you want multiple routes to point to the same, you want routes to kind of forward to the next route, and then you have to go through those like JSON configs again to define some like weird cryptic
Okay.
server route thing, you know. Like I find that stuff so frustrating when you actually get down to the nuts and bolts of like wanting to make some really crazy app. Like it's really
Yeah.
limiting, and I get why frameworks do it because it lets them kind of optimize these little pathways and stuff. But um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And honestly I mean you built this for the types of apps you're building, you know, but I can definitely see this you know being useful for lots of people and for folks like you're saying like if somebody likes file routing, like there's nothing stopping them from taking Ultra and then just saying I'm implementing file routing, you know, and then they map it to the server.get or the
yeah.
post or whatever.
I wouldn't surprise me if there is some sort of like file system, like just file system resolver or something, and you could probably do it. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing
Yeah.
stopping you, but yeah, it's not something that we're probably going to support.
Yeah, no, no, and from the core part of the project that I get, but I feel like
Mm.
people might build on top of this potentially. But it's yeah, no, I like the simplicity of it, and when I say simplicity, I don't mean it was easy to make. I just mean there's
Yeah.
less cognitive node, but this kind of also ties into like where a lot of frameworks are going to like Remix is doing this too in terms of like they want you to go back to using web standards, you know. So there's fetch, you know, there's like, you know, they have their concept of actions, but they, you know, which is literally just a form post or a form get, which is stuff that's existed on the web forever. It's like we just got so obscured with so many frameworks and like magic under the hood that, you know, it's I don't know, as somebody who's done web dev for a long time, like a lot of the things that are happening now make sense to me, but I can also
Hmm.
see it. I can still see it being daunting. I don't mean ultra. I just mean like the whole movement in general, going back to web standards. Like for folks that might have been doing React for the, and I'm not knocking React. I've done a ton of React. I like React, but I like other things too. But you know, a lot of people's like experience with web development is like they went to a boot camp, they learned React, and like React is their web development. You know, it's not necessarily like there's still people like I'll meet sometimes and they won't realize like something in React, you know, like under the hood, you know, because it generates the markup and it does certain things, you know, like you know, being able to understand how like you know, like for example, we you would probably there's been so many kinds of form libraries, you know, but like if you want to clear a form you just do form reset, you know, like with a
Mm.
button, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
but like
simple.
but we constructed this whole thing and I'm guilty for using these form libraries too, and you know like but there's just a lot of stuff, and I think part of it too is like the whole drive of it being immutable and like you know just the one way data flow, you know, but and there's it was always kind of like doing the imperative kind of thing was like no don't do that, but like in a lot of
Mm.
cases the imperative it's just how things work, you know, like so like you know I don't know, I guess it's all about trade-offs too, it's
Yeah, it is. It's good. We're going in the right direction. I think it just, yeah, how long it's taken. It's taken longer than I thought, but
yeah.
I guess there's other cool things you can do with this sort of server app rendering is we actually have a ability to control your hydration based on a route, and it's
Oh, no way.
yeah. So well, right now it does. You could do full hydration or just turn it off completely. So we actually build a lot of sites that are sort of like landing pages ish kind of marketing stuff, and um, that will mean you just get sent raw HTML streamed in. And I
Okay.
think it's just the second option in that render. So await server render. If you like go after server app closing tag and just do
Yeah.
like a comma and then an object, you should get a create an object in there, I
Okay. Yeah.
think.
Sorry.
And yeah,
Options.
and I think it's called disable. Yeah, disable hydration, that first one there. And just
Okay.
set that to true. And now, like, if you go back to that app, the localhost 8000,
Yeah.
and if
So
you like refresh
let's.
the page and like open up the network tab,
Yeah. Here, let's do that again. Sorry.
no,
Network. Okay. Let's. Okay. All right. So let's bring this
so
up a
yeah,
bit. Okay.
I can't see that. But yeah, there you go. I mean, so now you have static HTML rendering with absolutely no hydration, no JavaScript, nothing. Like it's sort of
Okay.
it's an easy like sort of little flip, but like we've built apps where the home page is just some sort of information, and there's nothing that's really super JavaScripty at all. Like, and you can kind of just make informative landing pages, whatever use
Okay. Yeah.
case, a blog, whatever, and there you go. Like you have absolutely no JavaScript. It's all ESM and React. And what's cool is that you could actually go in, because it's all just set in that server file. You could
Okay.
do it for a certain route, do it for all routes, do it for just one. You know, like you have full control to kind of control that how you want. Like I know like
Okay. Yeah.
Next.js
Yeah.
sort of optimizes that like automatically, like, but no, you could just do it like here.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we have we have examples like using islands hydration. That's a little bit more of a opt-in that you have to put some code into. But yeah, we're hoping to support full hydration, no hydration, islands hydration, and
Okay.
that sort of stuff's on our roadmap. But yeah, the full
Yeah.
and the none work really fine. And if you go back and undo that and then reload the page again, you'll see that you'll get that whole hydration kind of thing back again. And
Oh,
um,
did I stop the
that's sort of,
server?
no, I should,
Oh.
I wonder
Oh no,
why.
it
I
restarted.
wonder,
Yeah, it's good. It
yeah,
kind of had a hiccup for a sec. Okay.
yeah, but let
Oh,
me
it's because
think.
I'm only
You
on.
should be
No,
good.
no, it's because I'm filtering. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
okay.
why.
Yeah, yeah. See, anyway, so that sort of gives you, and here you could see your sort of chain being loaded.
Okay.
So yeah, that's sort of the nuts and bolts, but everything is just pure ESM rendered as it needs to be,
Okay. Yeah.
which some people might not like, but I think it's actually really really cool. Um,
Yeah.
and all of your, if you find like app.jsx, whatever, I think it's what it's called. Like if you look at that and preview it and stuff, it literally is just the code that you wrote, just
Okay.
on JS and TSified. So you see you're importing like use asset and stuff, and it's the representation of that exact module um, as it is.
Okay.
And yeah, so if you had any imports to other components, they would all resolve naturally as well.
Okay. And the JSX dev here, is that your flavor of create element or something?
Oh no, so this is actually another good thing to point out is in the import map, you'll see that there's actually a dev um, query param. And this
Okay.
is another thing that ESM does is this is a nicety that ESM gives you. You can
Okay.
specify the query param of dev, and it'll actually give you the React dev tools, or not the dev build. Um,
Oh, okay.
so
No, that
that's
is
sort of what
nice.
it's doing. So it's using the dev build and the dev runtime and the dev all of that, and built into ESM. And when we build it, it strips that stuff out, so you get the prod build. But yeah, so it is the
Okay.
development version of React here, which is good too. So if you had the dev tools, like it should just integrate and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So okay, I can see it here. Okay. Neat. Yeah. The no, that's super cool. And obviously, when you build for production, it's not the dev build, like you said, but it also, I imagine, minifies it, like all the white spaces stripped out and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's minified now, I think. We should probably turn that off. But like if you click the little blue top bottom left,
Oh,
the blue
yes.
things, like that's
Okay.
maybe it's not. Yeah, I think maybe you're right. I need to double check that. But yeah, it'll be minified
Yeah.
in prod.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's super
Um,
cool. All right. And there's the use asset hook, like you were saying, which it changes the URL. Was that it? What was it? Okay.
yeah, so only in prod, but like it should like your
Okay.
favicon and your CSS would be actually have a dot version hash in the file name. So that means that when you
Okay.
deploy new code, it would actually be a new version. But yeah, in dev, it actually won't do anything because it's always going to use your current
Okay.
version.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Yeah, we got about 10, 15 minutes left. Is there some other stuff you want to
Oh
dig
man.
into, or
Oh yeah,
uh,
there's
and
huge. We didn't
and,
get to any of it.
and honestly, if we don't get to it all today, I'd love to have you on again in the new year
Yeah.
if you're up for it. Yeah.
What
Okay.
I
Cool.
really would love, what I would love to do is show how suspense works because I think that's probably the most exciting thing. Um, I just don't
Okay.
know. I wonder if we could get it done in 10 minutes. Um,
Well,
but
we can
it
do
would.
like 15, 20 minutes. So it's like it's not
All
the end
right.
of the world because we can't leave people hanging here now. So
I'll have if we want to try and do a little power through. The really exciting thing is we'd have to use the experimental. Well, actually, I think we could use in 18.2. Let's actually just try it. So if you jump back, the same
okay.
project you were in, um,
Okay.
go into
Oh, yeah.
the app JSX thing,
Okay.
or TSX. Yeah, so maybe go down to like the body and just delete everything in the main and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Main included, like just get nothing in there.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
So maybe let's start with suspense in the body. So you'll probably need to import suspense from React, but if it doesn't do it for you, whatever you're using,
Yeah.
give it a go.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, and give it a
it's.
fallback
Hold
of
on.
yeah, loading's fine. You got
Okay.
the bot doing it all, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I have. I did import suspense.
This is where it's not great because you want to actually import it from React, not the
Oh. Okay. Yeah. 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 That's VS Code. That's why. Is it just
just
React
the
straight?
vanilla React. Yeah, just like your normal
Yeah.
imports. Yeah, so that's good. Um,
Okay.
and then put a closing suspense, and then
Oh,
oh geez.
GitHub code. It's I have GitHub code. What one benefit of working in open source is whoa, what's going
Oh my
on? What's
god.
going on? Ah. Okay, okay. GitHub Copilot. I don't know what's going on, but
It
okay,
doesn't
here, give me
understand
one sec.
ESM, I think.
It's like it really wants me to use suspense. I get it. Well, okay, no, okay, okay. Give me one sec. I'm gonna disable Copilot for a
Yeah,
minute.
don't worry.
Because otherwise we're not going to be able to do anything. That's the first time I've actually seen that happen. I
Jeez,
mean,
that's
I
well, that's
always
not a good sign.
I've seen it. Here, I'll have to reload, but okay, yeah, it's the first time I've seen it do that. Like, it definitely suggests stuff all the time, but okay, hold on a sec. We got a lot of red here, but it's not as bad as it looks, I think. It's like, sorry for folks who might be sensitive to lots of bright lights. Okay. All right.
Oh,
So
sick. All right, we got there. All right, so and then maybe make a new component, call it like data or something,
yeah.
and just close the tag. Yeah. So what's cool is now go same file. You don't need to make a new file or anything. You just go under it and create like a data component.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So,
or on top, yeah, whatever. Um,
yeah.
and I think let's see, let me think of the best way to do this. So return just a div for now,
Yeah.
but on top of that, we're going to want to use import. We want to import use from React. So in suspense, after suspense, just add comma use.
Okay. Yeah. That's the
And I'm
new
pretty sure
hook
it's,
for async away,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So then I think I have some code here that I was playing around with. Let me just double check it.
Yep.
So I think it's just I should have been more prepared here.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, so you could just do
Actually,
like const data equals use, and
yeah.
we'll probably need to use like an interesting fetch library. An interesting fetch endpoint? Do you know if there's any endpoints that like are automatically delayed?
Automatically delayed, no,
Like,
but
so let me see. I think I was looking at a slow
we can
API. Oh, here we go. How can I
simulate it with
send
like
you?
a. Oh yeah, there's a chat in the here. Let me send you a message. Here, you should be able to paste it in there. Okay.
Try copying that endpoint here, and we'll just use a fetch.
Yeah. Let's try this.
So inside of
Okay.
use, actually write fetch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't used
So
the new hook yet.
yeah, it's no one has. It's so fetch and then do like then response in return response JSON. So yeah, like R
Oh wait,
arrow
but
R
this is within the use though, right?
within the yeah totally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, okay.
in the real world, it won't look as ugly as this, but like this is just a really dumb way to kind of get it working. Yeah, and then return
Yeah.
data JSON.
Okay. All right. And then we can return
Um,
something here, I guess.
Yeah, let me see what that endpoint actually it returns a message. So if you do like data message or whatever.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it. I loaded it up on the data.message. Yeah.
And that delay is like 3 seconds defined in that endpoint. So I think
Okay.
you know what? This might actually just work. So just save that file.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
And then
is there something gone wrong there?
no, it's because when I had to restart the editor because of Copilot.
Oh,
So
sure.
okay. So just restart dev now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it not? We might actually, if you want to go to React and just Google React npm, and we could just pull the latest experimental.
Yeah.
I thought it was in 18.2, but I might have been wrong.
All right. Whoops.
So if you go to versions in the top right
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, cool.
Eighteen
And then maybe
two.
just copy 000 experimental. This is where it gets very fun. That whole 000 dash
Oh
experimental,
yeah,
that
yeah.
whole little.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So if we can go straight into our import maps and just replace 18.2.0
Yeah.
and
Did it not?
yeah, I think sometimes it automatically puts a new line. It's better off using the like find replace thing.
Okay. Yeah. Or wait. I was trying to use the multiple, but
Oh,
whatever. Yeah.
multi-line, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to be fancy, but it's not. It's not having it.
Give it a
So
go.
okay.
And
Cool.
just to be safe, can we just manually remove the devs? Because I think sometimes the experimentals don't have dev builds. So
Yep.
yeah, just
Okay.
a few places there. I think the React DOM might have it as well.
Yeah. All right.
Oh
There
no,
we
it does.
go.
Does
So
it? That's all good. Cool. All
okay. So
right.
if we
So
come back.
let's see if this works. There we go. So 3 seconds.
Nice.
So so this is cool. So what happens is it's going to render that suspense with your fetch and put that 3 second delay on it. Now, what's cool is that you can have multiple ways. So this is sort of what they call render as you fetch. So it's going to render the fallback while it's fetching the component, fetching the data, and then return it when it's ready. But if you
Yeah.
just remove that suspense full stop, we could do like a blocking request. So again, I think it's great that you could use these tools whenever you need them. But now if you go back and reload the page, you're not going to get any response until that like because you're already loaded, you're not like you're probably seeing a little loading spinner at the top. Yeah, so like you should actually get a 3-second delay, and then the HTML will get responded if it's something not gone wrong there.
Yeah, I think I'll check the dev server
We might
restarting.
have broken something.
It's okay. I think it just restarted. I'll just restart it. It's okay. It's live coding. It's all good.
Yeah, it's interesting. But what you should, unless something has legitimately gone wrong, which it definitely could have, what you're supposed to see is that the stream would just wait for 3 seconds before sending any response, which again might not be what you want. Yeah, I think there's something in that experimental build. I think
okay.
We might just have to come back to that one, but just to explain it, is like it should actually block your render from sending anything until that response resolves.
Okay.
So it's like two ways you could sort of use suspense in Ultra at the moment, which choose them as for whatever purposes you need them for. But the third way is that you could actually prefetch your queries on the server, which is what React is doing with, because I don't know if you've heard, but they're like patching fetch to have a cache on it.
Yeah, they're doing that in Next. Is that in Next.js only, or is that in
It's
React
actually in
itself?
React. Yeah.
Okay.
The patch
I thought
is actually going in React. So the third way was that you prefetch those queries on the server based on things like Remix do it route based, and things like Next are doing the React server component. So I think Ultra will probably push you to doing more Remix type of route based prefetching. But what that means is that you'd render those endpoints on the server, populate the cache, and then send them through, which means that there wouldn't be any, like the suspense would already be resolved because it's been resolved on the server, which is how Remix sort of works. It uses those loaders to kind of fetch them all up front and then render your data. But I always find I actually find using suspense in these ways very interesting, because you can choose, like, if you have UI elements that are okay to render on fetch, you can do it. And if you have ones that you want to prefetch, you can. And then if you have ones that you want to block, you can do all of that. And I find that really, I think that's the future for some of these data handlings. Like, we should be given the tools to load the data how we want for whatever reason. And I guess that's what I would like to see frameworks more and more embrace. And I think some are more opinionated than others. And I think our take is always going to be have control to load the data how you want, know the ramifications. And as you see here, like, it's using suspense just like this renders you fetch. It's dead simple. Like, you don't need to have crazy architecture. Like, you're just rendering the fetch and rendering suspense while it loads. Like, it's really cool. So, and again, your APIs won't be slow. And if we use an actual API, you wouldn't even see it loading. Like, it would just be done.
Exactly. So I don't think we're gonna have.
We use the
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we use the slowness to kind of show how it works.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Disclaimer at home, folks: do not ship an API that waits 3 seconds. No, for sure. There was a question in the chat from I don't know their name, but C Doramus was asking to look at the React query example, because they're mentioning it shows how suspense works with React query.
Yeah, like, if we do have a quick second, you don't need to pull up the code, but if you just pull up the GitHub and the examples, there's our React query has an example of prefetch, and I do believe that where would it be? If you quick one would go data fetching, and then React query, like data fetching below on the side menu.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, got it.
And then scroll down a bit, and there should be React query. These are all work in progress. Keep going. Yeah, right down. So Ultra with React query. That one. So if you go into server.jsx, .tsx, and you scroll down a bit, keep going. Yeah, so they use a query client. Query client is if you use React query, it's sort of their query client, but you can prefetch queries which populate a cache. So I'm assuming that the React's cache is going to enable some sort of similar thing to this, where You prefetch it on the
Okay.
server, it gets put in the cache, and then your app just uses it. Like no loading, no
Okay.
suspense, no whatever, no like fallbacks, because it should already be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm laughing because of the horn because like we're kind of at time anyways, so it's like it's kind of suitable.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, so that's probably the most interesting bits is like the data fetching. So all those ways
Yeah,
we support it, and I think data fetching in React is, and just frameworks in general, is like a real hot topic. So I'm kind of keen to
yeah,
just say like we want to give you control to control that, and yeah, we're keen to use TAN-stack router as well. I think we're going to try and implement that soon as well. It was just announced.
okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I don't know if he mentioned it at Jamstack Conf yesterday or if he announced it elsewhere,
Yeah,
but
I think you did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't at Jamstack Conf. I was working on it online, but I caught a bunch of the talks. It was really nice, but.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, we're pretty much at time, but like this has been super cool chatting, Omar, and I'd love to have you on again in the new year if you want to. I know you're gonna, because you said like there's a bunch of other stuff you still want to show, and maybe we could even have some fun, build something out a little more complex, because I know what you showed us here, right? It's just kind of the basics, and like here's like a trivial example of suspense and stuff. So it'd be cool to kind of see some of the stuff that you. I mean, we're not gonna build out an art installation like you do, but like, it'd be neat to do something, a little more complex, and I'm sure you'll have some more work done in the repo as well. Like, but yeah, I'm gonna drop a link again for folks in the chat to the Ultra repo as well as the Ultra website. I'm gonna drop a link to your Twitter and your website too, Omar. And
Sure.
yeah, no, yeah, I just want to say, yeah, it's been super fun hanging out today. This is a lot of fun, and yeah, I guess before we kind of end today, anything else you want to leave folks with, or just hey, thanks or bye, or
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if anyone is interested, we have a Discord, which I think there's a link on our website as well. Join the Discord because there's a whole bunch of people talking about it, and we kind of share some of the stuff we're working on there. So yeah, join
okay,
that.
cool, awesome, awesome. Okay, well, cool. Well, take care, everybody, and I'm always forgetting who's on next week, so give me 1 second here. I'll just see who's on. Where is it? Where's my schedule? Uh, this is something I need to do before the stream, but anyways, um, cool. All right. Let's see, where did it go? Anyways, I can't find it right now, and I don't wanna waste too much time. So, yeah, just wanted to say thanks so much, Omar, for coming on, and yeah, we'll see you all next week.